Princess Alara of Zargon was not meant for dusting shelves. Born into the opulence of the Zargonian royal family, she was destined for greatness. A life filled with luxury, and the responsibilities of ruling a vast empire. Her childhood was spent in the grand halls of the palace, learning the intricacies of diplomacy and governance, preparing for the day she would ascend the throne. Her veins throbbed with the blue blood of 1,000 generations. This was not just a metaphor. The royal bloodline of Zargon was said to carry the wisdom and strength of their ancestors, a legacy that Alara was proud to inherit. Each pulse of her heart was a reminder of the duty she bore, the legacy she was meant to uphold. Her eyes, the color of molten gold, had gazed upon nebulae from her palace balcony. Those eyes had seen the wonders of the universe, the beauty of distant galaxies, and the mysteries of the cosmos. They were eyes that had witnessed the grandeur of Zargonian culture, the splendor of royal ceremonies, and the solemnity of state affairs. But fate, it seems, has a wicked sense of humor. The tranquility of her life was shattered in an instant, as dark clouds of betrayal gathered over the kingdom. The once peaceful skies turned ominous, foretelling the storm that was about to engulf her world. A coup, swift and brutal, ripped away her birthright. The palace, once a symbol of stability and power, became a battleground. Loyal guards fell, and the walls that had protected her crumbled under the assault. The throne, her destiny, was seized by traitors who had long coveted the power it represented. Traitors seized the throne, forcing Alara into hiding. She fled under the cover of darkness, her heart pounding with fear and anger. The shadows became her allies as she navigated the treacherous paths away from the palace, each step taking her further from the life she had known. A rickety spacecraft cobbled together in haste became her chariot to the unknown. It was a far cry from the royal starships she was accustomed to, but it was her only hope. The spacecraft, though old and rusty, represented a chance at survival, a glimmer of hope in her darkest hour. Her destination, Earth, that vibrant, chaotic ball of blue and green, light years from everything she knew. It was a planet teeming with life, a stark contrast to the orderly and serene world of Zargon. Earth was a place of endless possibilities, but also countless dangers, a world where she would have to start anew. Crash landing in the Arizona desert was hardly a royal entrance. The impact was jarring, and the spacecraft, her last link to her past, lay in ruins. The harsh desert landscape was unforgiving, a far cry from the lush gardens of her home. But Alara was determined to survive, to find a way to rebuild her life. Stripped of her rank and riches, Alara had to blend in. She donned simple clothing, a stark contrast to the regal attire she once wore. The bustling towns and cities of Earth were alien to her, but she learned to navigate them, to move among the people without drawing attention. Rita, she muttered to her reflection, a name as ordinary as her new life. It was a name that would help her blend in, to become just another face in the crowd. The reflection staring back at her was unrecognizable, a far cry from the princess she once was. But in her heart she remained Alara, the rightful heir to the throne of Zargon. A life where tiaras were traded for feather dusters, and silk robes for the crisp uniform of a hotel maid. The grandeur of her past was replaced by the mundane tasks of her new life. Each day was a struggle, but it was also a testament to her resilience, her determination to survive against all odds. It was a cruel twist of fate. The loneliness was overwhelming, the weight of her loss almost unbearable. But in those quiet moments, she found strength in the memories of her family, in the stories of courage and perseverance that had been passed down through generations. But Alara, raised on tales of ancestral courage, refused to crumble. She would survive. The fire of determination burned brightly within her, a beacon of hope in the darkness. She knew that one day she would reclaim her throne, restore her family's honor, and bring justice to those who had wronged her. Even if it meant scrubbing toilets in a world that had never seen a Zargonian, let alone a princess. Each task, no matter how menial, was a step towards her ultimate goal. Alara's spirit remained unbroken, her resolve unwavering. She was a princess in exile, but she was also a warrior, ready to fight for her future. The Grandview Hotel was a monument to opulence, a towering edifice of glass and steel that gleamed under the sun. Its entrance, adorned with marble columns and a red carpet, welcomed the elite from all corners of the globe. Valets in crisp uniforms attended to luxury cars, while the doormen, with their polished manners, ushered guests into a world of unparalleled luxury. This grandeur was a stark contrast to Alara's current reality. Once a princess of the distant planet Zargon, she now found herself in the humble garb of a maid, her royal lineage hidden beneath the folds of her uniform. Her eyes, though, still held the depth of her past, a silent testament to the life she once knew. Each day was a symphony of vacuum cleaners and the scent of industrial disinfectant. The hum of the machines and the clatter of cleaning supplies became the background score to her life. She moved with practiced efficiency, her hands deftly maneuvering the vacuum cleaner across the plush carpets of the hotel's luxurious rooms. She moved through the luxurious suites, a ghost in uniform. The opulence around her was a constant reminder of the wealth she once commanded, now reduced to a mere observer of others' extravagance. Her presence was almost ethereal, blending into the background as she performed her duties with quiet grace. The guests, oblivious to her lineage, saw only a silent maid. They passed her by without a second glance, their lives a whirlwind of business meetings, lavish parties, and indulgent vacations. To them, she was invisible, a mere fixture in the grand tapestry of the hotel's service. They left behind a trail of messy lives, discarded champagne bottles, crumpled silk sheets, and remnants of their fleeting pleasures. Each room she entered told a story of excess and indulgence, a stark contrast to the disciplined life she once led. The lingering scent of expensive perfume clung to the air, a reminder of the transient nature of the guest's stay. These scents, once familiar in her royal chambers, now served as a bittersweet reminder of her past. Each room was a microcosm of earthly excess, a far cry from the austere elegance of her home. The lavish decor, the opulent furnishings, and the sheer extravagance of it all were a stark contrast to the simple, yet regal beauty of her palace on Zargon. Yet, Alara found solace in the monotony. The repetitive tasks, the predictability of her routine, provided a strange comfort. In the quiet moments, as she cleaned and tidied, she found a sense of peace that eluded her in the chaos of her former life. The rhythmic swish of the mop, the gentle back and forth motion, became a form of meditation. It was in these moments that she could lose herself, her mind drifting back to the memories of her homeland. The precise art of folding towels, each crease and fold a testament to her dedication, became her meditation. It was a small act, but one that she performed with the same pride and precision she once applied to her royal duties. She poured her royal pride into each mundane task, her spirit unbroken. Every action, no matter how small, was executed with a grace and dignity that spoke of her true heritage. She was Alara, Princess of Zargon, even if the universe had forgotten. Her posture, her demeanor, all hinted at the royalty that lay beneath the surface. She carried herself with a quiet strength, a reminder to herself of who she truly was. The sting of her exile, however, remained. It was a constant ache, a reminder of the life she had lost and the people she had left behind. Her heart carried the weight of her past, even as she tried to find solace in her present. Every night, under the vastness of the earth's sky, she dreamt of home. The stars above reminded her of the 3 suns that once bathed her planet in their warm glow. It was a nightly ritual, a moment of connection to the world she had been forced to leave. Her heart ached for her people, for her planet bathed in the glow of 3 suns. The memories of her homeland, the vibrant landscapes, and the faces of her loved ones were etched into her soul, a constant reminder of where she truly belonged. Arthur Hamilton III was a man who moved through life with an air of effortless privilege. Born into a lineage of wealth and influence, he had never known the struggles that most people face. His days were filled with meetings in high-rise offices, dinners at exclusive restaurants, and nights in the most luxurious accommodations. Heiress to a fortune built on steel and software, his family had long been a pillar of the business world. Arthur had inherited not just the wealth, but also the responsibilities that came with it. He was the face of Hamilton Enterprises, a conglomerate that spanned continents and industries. He carried his wealth with a detached nonchalance, a demeanor that suggested he was above the mundane concerns of the world. Yet beneath this exterior, there was a man who often felt isolated, trapped by the very privileges that set him apart. The Grandview's penthouse suite was his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the demands of his public life. It was a gilded cage high above the city's clamor, offering a panoramic view that was both breathtaking and isolating. From this vantage point, Arthur could see the city in all its chaotic glory, a sprawling metropolis that never slept. The constant hum of life below was a stark contrast to the serene silence of his penthouse. One afternoon, Arthur found himself inexplicably drawn to his suite's balcony. The air was crisp, and the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink as the sun began its descent. He often found solace in these moments, where the beauty of nature seemed to offer a brief respite from his otherwise controlled existence. He paused, startled to see the maid, usually a blur of efficiency, gazing at the sky. Her name was Elara, a quiet presence in his life, always there but never truly seen. Today, however, she seemed different, almost ethereal as the setting sun cast a golden glow on her profile. The setting sun painted her profile in hues of gold, highlighting an ethereal beauty that pierced through his usual indifference. For a moment, Arthur felt a connection, a fleeting sense of shared humanity that was rare in his world. "You seem troubled," Arthur remarked, his voice surprisingly gentle. It was an unusual moment of vulnerability for him, a break from his typically aloof demeanor. Elara turned, her golden eyes widening in surprise. She had never expected the man who seemed so distant and unapproachable to speak to her, let alone with such kindness. She had never spoken to a guest beyond the necessary pleasantries. Her role was to be invisible, to ensure the comfort of others without drawing attention to herself. Yet here she was, caught in a moment that felt strangely significant. But there was something disarming about this man's gaze, a flicker of curiosity that mirrored her own. It was as if, for the first time, they were truly seeing each other, not as employer and employee, but as two individuals with their own stories and struggles. "Just admiring the view, sir," Elara replied, her voice carefully neutral. She didn't want to reveal too much to break the unspoken rules that governed their interactions. It was, after all, a universal language, the allure of a setting sun. In that moment they both understood that some experiences transcended the boundaries of their different worlds. The sun would set, the night would come, but this brief encounter would linger in their minds, a reminder that even in a life of privilege or service, moments of genuine connection were possible. As weeks morphed into months, Arthur found himself seeking out Elara's quiet presence. He would linger in his suite, inventing reasons for her to return, a misplaced cufflink, a request for more tea. Each encounter chipped away at the walls he had built around himself. Elara, initially wary, found herself drawn to Arthur's quiet charm. He was different from the other guests, less entitled, more curious. He asked about her life, her dreams. In turn, he shared snippets of his own, the loneliness of wealth, the burden of legacy. They spoke of art, of music, of the cosmos. He with the knowledge of Earth's greatest minds, she with the wisdom of a civilization millennia older. An unlikely friendship blossomed, a fragile bridge across their disparate worlds. Yet Elara knew the truth must remain hidden. The moment he discovered her secret, their fragile bond would shatter, and Arthur, with his ingrained skepticism, would dismiss her as a delusional maid.